what should be done to ensure that parents bring out or raise a healthy child? A child, girl has to get married at 24. Says who? You get married, you have to have a child. Says who? You need to have a good paying job and a great house and a great car. Says who?
Money doesn't bring you happiness.
So you see, happiness is something a little beyond having money. What makes you happy would not necessarily be happiness for me.
So globally, 1 out of 8 people are actually suffering from mental health issues.
One student committing suicide every 55 minutes in India, where the students come from the elite of society, both financial, intellectual. They were found taking drugs like you would consume water.
Not going there. There is a limitation on how much social media you consume, or rather, there is a limitation on so many other things.
Bhutan has made a law that all government servants, all public servants, even the Prime Minister's kid will go to a municipal school.
Have you ever wondered what truly shapes our mental health? Is it the government policies, our parenting, or the way we choose to embrace the happiness? Or perhaps it's the myth we unknowingly cling to about mental well-being. In this podcast, we deep dive into these questions and more. We will uncover the facts, bust the myths, and explore the role of government, society, and even personal choices in uplifting individual mental health. And who better to guide us on this journey than our guest, a remarkable individual who transitioned from a successful businessman to a passionate mental health counselor. Now, a visiting faculty and a guest lecturer at various prestigious institutions. His unique blend of real-world experience and psychological insight is nothing short of inspiring. So, whether you are a parent, looking to nurture a happier home, someone seeking clarity on the mental health, or just curious about how we can create a more compassionate world, this podcast is for you. So let's start this conversation, challenge the perception, and embrace the change together. Don't miss it, tune it, and take the first step towards a healthier mind and a happier you.
Thank you for being here today, Millind sir.
Thank you.
Let's start light. Can you talk something about yourself first before we begin? I mean, a bit of your journey, how you land up into this field, and what triggers you in a manner what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, to keep it short, my schooling was not the best of the times. I mean, schooling was bad, let us say. Now, it is somewhere there that I picked out the reasons as to what change in the schooling thing would have made me happier. Then I did my engineering. I was in business for some time. And in the whole journey, at a certain point, I kind of, could not wake up to business anymore. And I was seeing the way I saw things around. The one problem, say, with business people was that succession was an issue, health was an issue. And I was watching kids, reading news, the news reports, let us say, which said that there's one student committing suicide every 55 minutes in India. And a general complaint of parents regarding children, their own children not doing very well, and so on. So the question that came is, why should this happen? And then people began talking about counseling in the sense of trying to correct something that has already been wrong. My interest was really in, can we do something by which we don't go down this path first. We try and do something by which a healthier society gets formed or born. Because we are healthy. All mental illnesses are something that come because we are not doing things right or because we are doing things wrong. So my whole focus has been as to what can be done to ensure that we live a happy life as we are meant to do.
Right.
Basically that.
So if you have to define mental health in a single word, what that would be?
Simplest thing would be you look to living the next moment.
Yeah.
Absolutely simple, minimalistic. Yeah.
Any example would you like to quote?
Any example? Let us say you are alone. Your friends have, say you're in college. People come to Pune from out of Pune, say, and say you're from Delhi for that matter.
Yeah.
All your friends have left. You didn't go because it was a short vacation, and now you're alone in the room.
Yeah.
Now, what would a healthy individual do? Well, I'm alone. He'll try and call up a few friends from Pune. He meets someone. They go out. Suppose there is nobody whom he meets. What would he do? He'd just go out, have a good meal, and he would just think, what do I do? And then he'd go for a film alone, maybe, or then engage in some activity that would give him happiness. He would not withdraw, I'm alone, what the hell is happening, Now, moment that happens, that's when something is wrong. Now, that by itself is not mental illness. Let's understand.
Yeah.
But look at a child, What happens to a child?
Yeah.
You give him time, he's well fed, okay? What is the first thing? He'll just call his friends out from the gallery or somewhere and they'll go out to play.
Yeah.
When they are gone, he'll come home again, he'll get his toys out and he'll play.
Yeah.
Suppose that stops, he'll bug his grandparents or parents. That liveliness, wanting to live life, looking at the next moment, the next day, the next year, if that is happening, you're mentally healthy.
I have a stat. So globally, 1 out of 8 people are actually suffering from mental health disorder. Right. So, what do the stats like this, tells you about the entire mental health issues? As per you?
Yes. The fact is that the statistics, as they say, they could be even worse, very frankly.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what that means is somewhere in the process of living life, we have forgotten what living life really should mean or does mean. If you remember about 5 years back, we've had about, possibly 10 suicides in the Hollywood industry. All great actors, multi-billionaires. And then suddenly someone starts talking, saying that they were unhappy. Now, what is it that made them unhappy? We need to go there. And then there was this American research, typical American way of living life. They came to a conclusion that $75,000 is the limit where up to which, if as money goes on increasing, your happiness could possibly go on increasing. Beyond $75,000, the more you earn, you don't always get more happiness, or there is no reason why happiness will come. So now we come down to what is happiness. We had one singer from the US saying that I'm going to give my children a middle class life. Okay. Because then you're well fed, you're well clothed, you have a roof over your head, and you have to work for the next day, a few generations aren't taken care of. What is a few generations being taken care of? That is where the fault comes in. We don't know what living life is as to what we need to do tomorrow. Somewhere wrongly, we have come to believe that having lots and lots of money, having a so-called secure future, and the secure future in this case is wrongly defined into meaning not working. Whereas happiness would really mean having sensible work to do, whatever that would mean for any individual. Yeah. That could just mean rearing cattle, or maybe going into Africa and taking care of the forests there, something.
So you mean to say that money doesn't bring you happiness? Or do you think happiness cannot be a byproduct of having a large amount of money? Which possibly the basic needs of every individual. And I think most of our youngsters are running behind the money just to get more happiness out of this, which means having a luxury car, having a good house, a good education and all those sort, basically comes from money. And that is proportional to the happiness as per them. Do you think the statement is correct?
No, this is exactly where we are doing things wrong.
Okay.
If someone were to say that money would never bring you happiness, that would be as wrong. Look, suppose you don't have food on your table. Yeah. Do whatever you want to. You cannot be happy. So there are things which are a prime requirement to be happy. What are your basic needs might be? And one of the basic needs would be not to have to worry about your next meal, to keep it very broadly.
Yeah.
Okay, a certain amount of physical security. Okay, so certain amount of money, whatever that means, a minimum amount of money is a must.
Okay.
You cannot be happy without that.
Right.
But the point is, if you are going to equate the possession of money with happiness, now that is where things are going wrong. If you want, I can give a very simplistic example.
Sure.
Let us say you go to, say, Germany, let us say, for example, you don't speak German, and the Germans as a rule don't speak English. You go to a great hotel, you've got all the money all the time, and the great hotel, and he gets you a menu card in German. How are you going to feed yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so now happiness here, say in this case you want food, but you don't know how to order food. You have money.
Yeah.
So you see, happiness is something a little beyond having money. What it is, there is no one-line definition. That's another mistake that most people do, trying to fit it into one. It is not.
Yeah.
What makes you happy would not necessarily be happiness for me.
Correct.
Okay, so it's very, very individualistic. So money and happiness, yes, at the initial level, undoubtedly, but beyond the point, absolutely not.
Yeah. I remember a time when I was a kid. It was fed into my mind that if you read a lot maybe and having a good grades in the school, good job after the college, then of course a good title from the social aspects, then you would ultimately feel alive, and you would feel a bit of happiness afterward. But lately I realized that even though I do have all the things, but still somewhere down the line I felt that this is something which I'm possibly not wanting. I wanted to pursue something else, but what I'm doing something else, which means a kind of discomfort had come into my heart, and that precisely led me to a lot of thinking, and in turn it causes me a lot of harm itself. Like I couldn't able to figure out that why this is happening. Though I all the things I have already, but still I'm not happy. Right. So, do you think was that happiness and that solace which I was having, not that comfort zone I was having? How do you correlate? Was it a first step to the anxiety or depression, or is there something else?
From if I've understood you right, what your parents were doing is trying to make sure that you have a lot of money with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I think it was Jack Ma who had said, don't go after grades. I think it was him. And he says, I've told my kid to study hard. He needs to get minimum marks as would be required. That would be required for him to get into a good college. Beyond that, your marks mean nothing. That was his statement, which makes sense. Now, the only catch is you don't know what the cutoff would be. So you push yourself harder. How much do you push yourself is depending on the individual. The more important thing here is something which we fail to understand. Sadly, our parents fail to understand. Now, this might take a little time, or maybe we can have another specific podcast for this. Let's look at it this way. Suppose you like doing something. Okay. Now, we have to, monetize your like, let's understand that also. But suppose you like something, whatever that means, and you're told to study that. What happens? What you're doing now is working toward a certain goal.
Yeah.
Are you getting burdened by the study? No. Okay. You're doing something that you like. Because you like it, you do more of it. The more you do, the more happier you get. And in the end, because you are doing what you wanted to do, and that doing is also giving you money, all those things kind of fit in. But it's like this. Suppose I wanted to play football and my father wanted me to play cricket.
Yeah.
Now, I would never be able to be a great cricketer, but because he wants me to do it, I'm pushing myself to do it. But whereas if it were to be football, I would wake up on my own, I would do it on my own. So the catch in your situation, and with most kids, is this. Parents have to tell children that at a minimum level, you need to do these things because without that, you would not be able to go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just have a quote in case,
Sure.
which says, the advantage of being intelligent is you can play the fool. It's impossible the other way around. So I think that is the underlying thing.
Yeah.
So if you tell your parents, I don't want to be a graduate, they say, fine.
Yeah.
How much money, what kind of life do you want? And you spell it out. I'm sorry. And then you come out to say, I need 2 lakh rupees to live the kind of life I need per month. And your parents say, fine. Now do some work, which will give you 2 lakhs per month. So now you see what's happening. You're putting in effort to earn 2 lakh rupees because those 2 lakh rupees are going to give you happiness.
Right.
So the primary thing is happiness. Money is needed for it, and then you put in your effort. What is happening now is you earn your money and you will be happy. It doesn't work that way.
Sure. So, someone being unhappy, do you think is the starting point of an individual to get into anxiety or depression or any sort of mental disorder? Do you think this could lead to these kind of issues, being unhappy?
Okay, now the point is, why is the person unhappy? But that will again be a very long discussion. There are some basic needs, like food, for example.
Yeah.
But basic needs, food. Suppose you need good food and your mother or your parents give you good food, but you want, say, a pastry or a pizza or something else. Now your requirement, say once in a week or once in a month, is fine. Okay, so what you want and what you need, we need to define and redefine it. So because you as a kid could not get a pizza, you are unhappy. Now, would that by itself would that be a starting point for being a mentally unhealthy human being? No and yes, depending upon how your parents handle it, because you're a child, or how you handle it.
But even the adolescents or the people who are in 30s or even in 40s, they are also get into these these mental health issues just because they are not happy, just because something they were wanting, but it's not coming the way they wanted to consume, right? So how do you say that, again, going back to the same fundamental question, that somebody being happy, irrespective of the age group, why do they get into these sort of mental health illness, and which actually turn to a lot of mental health disorders as well? First of all, do you think that this statement is correct? And if yes, then what is the basic reason?
The statement is not wrong.
Okay.
It might not be 100% correct,
All right.
but it certainly is not wrong. Now, let's look at it this way. So someone says you need a car, which is fine.
Yeah.
But you insist you want a Mercedes costing 3 crores. Now, we need to look into it. And if you are going to be unhappy because you don't have a Mercedes worth 3 crores, something is not right. Okay. You can get a good car today in India for about 15 lakhs. And it does meet all your minimum requirements.
Sure.
Okay. So should you be sad or unhappy because you don't have a car worth 3 crores? It's a very individual decision. Now, this individual decision comes by our thought process that we are carrying through our childhood. Okay. Now, suppose you are able to define and redefine your requirements, where you come to a sensible thing, I need a good car. Okay, and you have a good car, whatever that means. Do you have reason to be unhappy? The answer is no. But then other things tend to happen. Your friend has a bigger or better car.
Yeah, I was about to talk about
exactly. So now the question is, your friend having a bigger and better car, how does it reflect upon your life?
Yeah.
Now, the very simplistic example I give people is, let us say me at my age, my food is just about, say, 400 grams of food, let us say.
So why this thought comes at the first place? Why somebody cannot be fulfilled, like you rightly mentioned in the start of our conversation, that one has to be minimalistic. Why can't one be minimalistic and cannot be in happy in the sense that whatever he has is enough. The word enough, why does it not come to an individual mind?
Okay, I'll just complete my example.
Sure.
As I said, suppose I need 2 sandwiches for me to be, for me, that's a good full lunch.
Yeah.
Now, you looking at your health, you might need 4 sandwiches.
Yeah.
Now, you're happy with 4 sandwiches. My basic requirements are met with 2. Now, does it mean that you are twice happier than me because you ate 4 sandwiches?
No, of course not.
Yeah, I would not possibly be able to take in 4. It will cause me discomfort, So I need to define my requirement. And why I said define and redefine is because that's a learning process. And parents come in here, So once I know I need 2 sandwiches, which is my lunch, how much you eat should not be my concern at all. Okay. So what is happening here is our needs, our wants are not well thought of. There's a gray area there. Okay. Now, suppose argument's sake, something has gone wrong. I have only 1 sandwich. How much will it affect my, day? Suppose I have only 1 sandwich for lunch.
Yeah.
What is going to happen? I might be a little hungry for that day, but would I not be able to pull on till dinner? I will. So is there anything to worry about? No. But this comes after thinking about it, after a thought process, after you think and you rethink. And here, what happens is, this is something that just came to me. You need to understand that your aim in life is to be happy.
Yeah.
Let's understand that.
Yeah, sure.
Now, when you say you want to be happy, you start putting in things that would make you happy. So in this case, I say I got only 1 sandwich. Now, do I be happy or do I not be happy is my choice. I said, I've gotten 1, I'll eat 1. Dinner I can compensate. I become happy. Now, if I don't know what my aim in life is, I just look at this as the end of the world, So happiness, mental illnesses are really at some point, a lack of understanding about what life is, about understanding what our requirements are, and a certain amount of social upbringing.
Yeah.
Pressures also, yes, social upbringing, social pressures, your family culture, your family values, etc. Wherein you as an individual are not valued at all.
Okay.
Other things get valued. If you have time, I can give you the example of Chetan Bhagat for that matter, as to how it kind of resonates or how it fits in. Depending on how much time we have in the thing, we can do that.
Sure. Got it, actually, and that makes sense as well. See, mental health awareness has exploded in last few years, right? And it's not that it's never been existed. It was there since, I think, very long. But why do you think that it's happening now? Is it the case is it a rising case because of that, or are we becoming more open to talk about it? What's your thought on this?
Okay. Again, this, as I said, would be a long discussion, but to keep it short, in olden times, maybe till about 20, 30 years back, even if we didn't have joint families, we had a certain family, what should I say, a backup, let us say.
Yeah.
You could go to your aunt's place just like that and insist that you want something to eat. Or just go there, open a fridge and eat something.
Yeah.
Or maybe even your neighbors, something. So you had ways and means to satiate your inquisitiveness, your hunger, both physical and mental both.
Yeah.
Or something like you have a fight with your mom and you say, okay, I'm going to my aunt's place, I'm going to this auntie, she's better than you. Or grandmom is better. So the kid goes to the grandmother's place and stays and says, I hate my parents. And grandmom says, it's okay. So, you had these, what should I say, areas where your so-called stresses were taken care of.
Yeah.
What has happened now is because of single child families, families getting, without the joint family, wrong word joint family, without the so-called social support. An average, an anxiety or a discomfort, that is not addressed. Now, because it is not addressed, that grows to a thing. Okay? A very simple example, you get a small boil here. What happens? You take care of it. You don't take care of it, it grows bigger, it rots,
Yeah.
And if you don't look at it at all, it is going to be a point where you have to chop your hand off. Now, was the boil responsible for cutting your hand off and the gangrene? No. The boils do come,
Sure.
Something, you have an insect bite, you hit something, you have a small wound. So what is happening now is those small injuries or those small wounds are not addressed the way they should be for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Could be lack of, say, as I said, surroundings, ignorance, financial pressures that parents have, or whatever. To keep it short, it is just that addressing a problem at the right time. A simple thing, a switch in time, as they say, save 9. That is not happening.
I think somewhere people back then were pretty much engaged in many activities, and they do not have much time actually to think on all of those sort. They took things very lightly, irrespective whether they have money, they do not, they have good clothes, or of those sort. It's least bother them. I mean, they oftenly comes and discuss about it in their family. They talk out the solutions, and basis on whatever discussion has happened, they'll go on and decide the next step and perform it. But those sort of discussion is missing these days. People are living in silos. People don't want to discuss more about their problems, about their issues currently, and by virtue of social media, they are just into in their own. The thoughts keep cooking in their mind, and at the end of the day, they comes up with their own own thought process about a particular thing without discussing with their friends or families or anybody else. And I think that leads to a lot of mental health issues because they do not have the proper guidance or maybe somebody to whom they can talk about it and get that out from them to have a fruitful solution. So if I may have to ask you, social media, do you think it's a friend or a foe? According to you, what do you think? How much role this social media plays in an individual, especially for the young people today? What is your thought process, and what one suggestion would you like to give to them?
Okay, I'll address that issue a little after a minute. So, good food is required for health, for a happy life.
Yeah.
How much are you going to eat?
To my appetite?
Just as much as you require.
Yeah.
So social media or anything for that matter, if consumed as much as is it required for your well-being, is going to be a boon. If you know what I'm trying to say. If you eat more than what you're supposed to eat or what you can digest or is required, you're going to fall sick or you're going to have trouble, let us say, in that area. And the same thing goes everywhere. Exercise is good for health. Yes. But suppose you're exercising 5 hours a day, what's going to happen?
It will break down.
Absolutely. You'll break down. Yeah. So the point is, nothing, if you look at it that way, is good or bad. It is you consuming it as per your requirement and as much as you really need to, consume. A doctoral student might have to be on the net for 20 hours a day. And you would still find here, I'm still short of information, because he's doing that. He needs that. For someone, look, and one more thing, doing things only for the sake of doing things, which is what is happening now, is a major problem. You have nothing to do, chalo, let's go and grab a bite. No, you don't go and grab a bite because you have nothing to do. You grab a bite because you're hungry, if you know what I'm trying to say. What is happening now is you have nothing to do, you go to social media. It just can't work. And you can give examples, for everywhere, this example. Is it required to be done? Do you really need it? Yes, you do it. How much? As much as it required to be done. There will be no problems.
So, to cater to this issue, like they don't have anything, that's why they're moving to social media. Now, let's say if they want to consume their time, with the pace of life what young people is having right now. And of course, social media is playing a pretty important role in almost each field wherever we go, whether it is marketing, education, or doing just killing your time, etc. How do you think that, what are the alternatives we can give to the youngster? Just not to consume consume this these content more than what is required. how do we make sure that, like you said, it's like more you consume, if you have a lot of things, a lot of appetite, it will of course harm you. So what suggestion would you give? What would the alternative possibly be you would be suggesting to them?
Okay. Look, the point here is you cannot look at social media independently from the whole framework of life. Okay. You will have to look at social media and the abuse of social media in terms of what children today are doing and what they should be doing. You spoke about, say, about 20, 30 years back. 20, 30 years back, people didn't have the kind of savings that we have today. So working to make sure that we feed ourselves tomorrow was an agreed basic requirement. So what happens if you come home, say, a little early? You would maybe eat something good and you would sleep because you lost sleep. Because again, you have to go to work tomorrow. Today, what is happening is you can take that gap. You can skip work for tomorrow, for a week, a month, which is fine again. But then what do you fill that time with? Okay. People don't seem to know what you fill your time with. That is the major issue. Okay. So in a way, abundance is a curse now. Okay?
Right.
And it's a curse in the sense that parents are not able to address it. Because for them, that was never the issue. So what do we do? How do we correct it? I wouldn't look at social media alone.
Yeah.
I would look at redefining what life means, redefining how you live your life. Okay. And in the terms of social media, parents, society, teachers, they have to understand that children need to get their dopamine sensibly. And you have to train them to get that dopamine from something sensible. Now, what can this sensible be? Say, eating good food is genuinely a good thing. It does give you dopamine.
Yeah.
Now, you push them to cooking. Now, if you have to cook, it could just consume your whole day if you want to cook something good. Now, that whole process is going to give you dopamine. Your time is well spent. Or the fundamentals, I would say, if you talk of things generally for parents, reading is something that you have to teach your kids.
Yeah.
Music, compulsory. Good food, again compulsory. Having a certain social group, again compulsory, because we are human, like it or not. Okay? And something that is being left off is you being comfortable with yourself and being able to live alone.
You talked about abundance, right? Now, wherever there is abundance, of course, it would lead to a lot of consumptions as well. And that is what young people are doing that. Now, I'll just give you an example from the government side, right? We have North Korea, right? There is a limitation on how much social media you can consume, or rather, it's a limitation on so many other things as well, and how their people should be going ahead. At one, in one way, this is wrong because we are violating the fundamental rights. But on the other way, if you think that having a controlled environment by virtue of government's enforcement onto it, they would not get exposed to that abundance level. Now, in India, do you think our government should intervene about the content, the level of content or the varieties of content that is being created? If it is not creating at that par, right, people would not receive it, and thus they would not be fed to the youngster, and they would find some alternative to divert their mind in the form of entertainment. Do you think that this would may help in improving the mental health status when it comes to a youngster or young people?
No. What I think the fundamental mistake we are making is we are presuming.
No, I'm asking what is the role of government over here? Do you think government?
I think the role of the government here at one level would be good schooling.
Okay.
If you really want to know what good schooling is. Now, if you look at Japan primarily, now this has come to me from the internet, so you will have to give it a certain leverage. Okay. I mean, how true it is will have to be checked. But in Japan, for that matter, what they say is till the kid in the 4th standard, kids come in early in school, they sweep and mop the school. They even clean the washrooms. They cook part of the food.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the culture.
That's their culture. So you look at what's happening. So they see the food actually being done.
Yeah.
And I think, although it might not be as black and white as I'm saying now, but they are fed good food. Okay. And this was an American researcher who goes to Japan and asks the kids, what food do you like? And someone says mashed potato, and someone says broccoli, and someone says boiled carrot. And this man is completely surprised. Because if you ask the same question to a possible European, he's going to say maybe a burger or, some ice cream or something of that kind. Now, how does this come? Because the children, since childhood, are trained to get the dopamine from the right things.
Yeah.
Okay. So are we limiting it? No. Secondly, would you give a driving license to someone who's 10 years old? No, because he's not equipped to handle it.
Yeah.
So does the government role come in? It does not come in. Now, a very interesting take here was how Singapore designs cities. Now, money is ample, but having too much money and how it could cause a problem. They came out with a research saying that too many cars would mean a certain amount of traffic jams and people sitting in the cars, lack of exercise, plus delays, etc. So what Singapore is supposed to have done is, it has given excellent, possibly cheap also, public transport. And they have designed the whole city in such a way, I forget the number of footsteps. He says 72,000 or 7,200 footsteps each person should be able to take. So you see what we are doing. So you have a station here and you have a taxi stand, say 200 meters away. So you end up walking compulsorily. So that's where the government role comes in, if you know what I'm trying to say. Or say possibly having a vegetable market very close to the residential areas.
Do you think this can be implemented given the scenario of India?
Look, we get the government that we deserve. So the demand for this should somewhere come from the people. Or if the government is trying to tell people that this is good, somewhere at least a section of the population should be convinced about it. If you take Pune, this might be a little away. Now, because we have a problem with taking care of, say, the wooden or the paper boxes, cardboard boxes that come with sweets, people in Pune, some of them, are carrying their own steel containers to a mithai shop and getting the mithai in that steel container. Why? Because then, you don't create garbage. A very small, population might be doing it. Or if you look at a little, say 20, 30 years back, any man or any lady who, when she left her house, they always carried a small bag with them. In the Maharashtrian term, choti pishvi borobar nehmi asaychi. Because you go anywhere, you want to buy something, vegetable or whatever, you can quickly pick it up. Today, because we don't do that, we need plastic bags, So what I'm trying to say is the government would help undoubtedly. The question is, how much should the government intervene?
Yeah.
Australia has now put a ban on social media, too much social media for kids below 16.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to come out, but Australia has taken it very, very seriously.
Yeah.
Internet and social media, they are just about going to ban.
That's the very fact I talked about it, that what role government could play. And I think if somewhere, by virtue of this podcast, if somebody is watching from the government side, maybe can take that into consideration. I think now is the time. 50% of people actually develops the mental health issue at the age of 15 itself. And that's not...
15, you're saying?
Yeah, at the age of 15 or 16 years.
Even younger.
I have that statistics, so that's why I'm not revealing.
Okay.
So now, we are a country of youth. We have a large amount of youth people. And if, by looking at the statistics, if government do not intervene into it or take a corrective action into it, I believe we are heading towards a society wherein there would be more people with a lot of mental health issues, not able to focus on the development of the country. That precisely what we are looking at. So I believe we should be having certain provisions by virtue of government, of course, to put on either parents or maybe bringing in some good education or something, which actually and not fully eradicate, but at least minimize this percentage level from 50 to, let's say, 10. I know this is a huge thing, but still, I think anything you would like to add into it?
Yes, I think look at the problem with India today, as far as education is concerned. Somewhere, education having gone to private hands has been a curse. I was looking at why the Finnish schools, Finland, are the best. They don't have private schooling or private education for that matter. So what happens is the rich and the poor, they have to go to the same school. So the people who are ruling or the ruling classes, Bhutan also apparently has the same law.
Do you think corruption is one issue in implementing it in India?
Look, corruption is again the chicken or egg kind of thing,
Yeah.
because we don't know what comes first.
Right.
But Bhutan has made a law that all government servants, all public servants, even the prime minister's kid will go to a municipal school. So what happens is the level of a municipal school has to be brought up to a certain level. Finland has done that. So all schools are more or less of the equal level.
Yeah, but I think, see, while the solution is great, but I think the population plays a major factor in here. Finland is largely a very small,
It's a very small
country
Yes.
compared to India. And if we have to implement these sort of solutions in here in India, I think not very difficult, but nearly impossible. That's what I feel. So I don't know if this could happen in near future, if we are getting. But any thoughts on that part?
Yeah, I think you put it completely reversed. I've been discussing this with parents, people of say our parents are around that time.
Yeah.
The general, what you call this, the statement that comes out is the amount of money you people are spending. I mean, the person who is saying this, his grandchild, is spending for the nursery school. Today, Pune also, I think a good nursery school is costing about 1.5 lakh to 3.5 lakhs per year. So these people are saying we finished all our education, our post-graduation level up to that level in less than that money. And these people were that much mentally healthy or healthier than people what we are doing. So when you said, is it implementable? It is more than implementable. That is the only solution. Private education has to go out. Okay. Government has to interfere in education, and it has to give the same level of education to everybody, whatever it costs, if we want to do things right. Because if you look at it a little differently, in Pune at least, a few very, very good colleges where the students come from the elite of society, both financial, intellectual, they were found taking drugs like you would consume water. It was quite a big scandal, in Pune. And whereas someone in at the lower level schools, the pressure to do good academically, because they need money, etc., is so heavy that people don't have that diversion. Okay, so good schooling is something that the government has to interfere in. Private or public, that's something great. But because if you are going to have private education, the whole equation changes. That is why I said no private education.
Sure. Okay. I have another statistics which says that as per the report of 2023, there are 67% people who are suffering from mental health issues
in India.
Yeah, in India,
Yes.
but it's never been reported, mostly because of the stigma associated with it. Right. So, do you think why there isn't a stigma? Why people don't come out and talk about it by themselves? Now, by virtue of internet, of course, there are a lot of content which and people like you who come onto this stage and talk openly about it. That what is the importance of mental health and what we can be doing, what are the solutions, and etc. etc. But out of that stigma which is attached to this mental health problem or issues, of course, by virtue of society itself, they would never come out by themselves, and which lead to a lot of issues, not only to them, but also the friends and families, mostly to the friends and families as well. So why is that stigma? What do you think that stigma is
That's the problem with India, as I said, is again lack of education. When I say education, I don't mean formal education only. I would say a lack of intellectual discussion within people, within families, within communities. We are an extremely opinionated society.
So communication is one problem.
Sensible communication.
Sensible. Okay.
Okay. Now, why should a stigma, like say for example, intercaste marriages? Look at the stigma attached there.
Yeah.
Or even something like getting a blood test done when the corona epidemic hit us.
Pandemic. Yeah.
A pandemic hit us. People were apprehensive of getting a blood test done because if they have corona, they would be ostracized by the other families. Something like that. I don't know where this comes from. So this is a lack of, as I said, intellectual discussion within the family. How many parents discuss things with their children on a one-to-one basis? How many parents are open for a discussion on mental health? Look, the problem with us as Indians is we are still living, I don't know, in the Stone Ages in some areas. Okay. Where is the harm in just talking about things? You don't have to actually, wed your children into intercaste marriages because we are discussing intercaste marriages. But how many would even do that? Yeah. So on the Indian side, the reluctance to discuss anything sensible is not limited to mental health. It is limited to just about anything and everything. So someone who eats non-vegetarian food, you could be a bad man. Even in a place like Pune or most cities, you don't get a good house on rent if you're a non-vegetarian person. Now, how do you explain that? So it is not just mental health as far as the Indian thing is concerned. It's across the board. We need a lot of work there.
So where should it begin? Is it through parents only? Parents need to be more open before their child and talk openly about each aspect of it. So that's the sort of environment they create right from a very beginning age, say 5 years or maybe
even younger.
They start building out these rapport with the kid, saying that we are here, you can able to discuss that. I think most people, era of my generation, they are aware of it, and I think they are also started implementing and talking about it openly with their kids. But at one point, kids start going to school and then the college itself. So the sort of surrounding they'll be having, right? Now, no matter what information I have given to my child, no matter how much good opinions I have given to him and being so open about it, after a particular age, they would spend more time with the outside world, which of course we are not aware of that, what sort of background those people are coming from. Unfortunately, they opt more from them than what their parents teaches. So while I agree to the point that parents should be more open and frank with their kid, but they can be till a specific time period. But afterward, it's about the sort of knowledge or the environment they will be getting into plays a major role in defining their further mental health. I'm putting it mental health because that's what we are talking over here, and the sort of all the data or all the information they're consuming, that depends on them. I don't think that there is some different way, but I would like to ask from you how that individual, a person, let's say I'm a person of age 16 to 16 years, and now I'm fully grown, I understand everything, I have access to social media, I have access to all of information, I have access to my teachers, my friends, apart from my family. Now, family taught me well, to how to be open and all, but then by virtue of entertainment and all sort of cinemas what we are having, and plus the environment what I just mentioned, what are the things which I should be taking care of if I'm a 16-year-old guy? and I want to lead a good life, of course, want to have escapism from this mental health issue, what are the three things which possibly I'll be doing to make my life more better than falling into this trap of mental health problems?
When you say parents have brought you up,
Do you think it's a valid question?
not really.
Okay, sure.
Because what you are looking at is a 16-year-old child when he goes out in the world and you say he takes in bad habits, very simplistic
Sure.
word. Point is, only because a 16-year-old child at that point doesn't have bad habits, again a very wrong word, but using it very generally,
Yeah.
does it mean he's good or he's stable or he can handle the world? No. He's not trained to do that. We need to train a child to be able to live in the world.
So we established a fact that we really need a good parenting to make sure that our child at a later age would not suffer a sort of mental health issues basically, and we also established that government can play a role into it by putting some good education levels over there and interfering the amount of content which is coming out of the industries and all. Now, I have this fundamental question: while parents can actually teach or maybe teach them or their child that how to live their life, but just by tweaking different ways of doing the similar thing just in a different way, right? My question is, me and you might opt in, but 99% people do not follow the same game. So my question to you is, what we should be doing, or who can actually educate the parents to behave in a certain way?
That really is the million-dollar question. What we are doing, what government seems to do, or what I don't know if the medical fraternity also does it, we are looking at children, or the addicts, or the young adults, when we look at mental health and solving their mental health issues. I think the parents have to be institutionalized first. Absolutely. The problem lies there, rot lies there.
Yeah.
And the rot then seeps onto the children. So the first thing is the mental health of parents becomes very, very important.
Mm.
I mean, what we have been discussing is, should the government come out with a law having something like a test? This was in a lighter vein.
Yeah.
As we have to see the parents' mental health requirement to or not to have a child. Is this father, is this mother mentally equipped to sire a child, to ensure the child grows up well? If they fail, we have to tell them not to have children. It's that serious, if you ask me. One more thing you said was, this is what happens, how we have, what is the word? Normalized mental illness in a wrong way. You said, what should the parent do to ensure that the child does not become mentally ill?
Yeah.
Now, isn't there something fundamentally wrong in the statement?
I think I just try to know that. Wow. Being a layman, not an expert, I'm just seeking for ways to avoid mental health issues in not only the adolescents but later who become adult at the very early stage. So I was just trying to say that what could be the options or what they can do.
No, what I'm trying to get at is, look at the statement.
Yeah.
Should the statement not be, what should be done to ensure that parents bring out or raise a healthy child?
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, sure.
Why should you learn to drive well? So that you don't meet up with the accident and you don't die.
True.
Is that why you should drive well?
No.
No. You should drive well because you reach safe, you don't harm others, and you don't harm yourself also. You can't do it. Why do you have a driving license? Because then even if he has an accident and kills 10 people, he would not have to go to the jail. He would not have to go to prison or jail. Is that why you need a driving license?
Not really.
No. A driving license means you can drive well.
Yeah.
So what has happened now is we have taken mental health to a level where we have kind of, presumed that this is how it is going to be. And we are looking at avoiding mentally illnesses.
So what to do to solve this?
So the first thing is we have to rephrase parenting.
Okay.
We have to rephrase what growing up is. We have to rephrase what, say, education is, what a healthy lifestyle is, what a happy individual is. To take it a little away, I was talking about the Finnish schools, and they were comparing Finnish education with American education. Now, one thing that they came out, even the children said that, a few children from Finland had gone to US. And the kids said, in the American system, we have 4 options and we have to mark the right one. What kind of education is that? And then
Really this happened?
Yeah. And then the interviewer asked, how else do you get the answer? And the kid says, you have to work the whole thing out and then you get an answer. You don't just mark one right answer. Now, you see what's happening? You are giving a man a problem. You're giving him paper and pen, and he gets to put his head, and he works towards it rightly. Moment you works towards it rightly, your brain starts working, things start happening, dopamine gets released. In this case, what happens is it becomes a trick. Well, how do you get the right answer? Yeah, these 2 answers will not be, so you cut them out. Now, out of these 2, choose the right one. Are you looking at education, or are you looking at getting highest marks in the exam? You see the basic chalk and cheese difference? Finnish education here becomes very important. Understanding how Finland did it, or maybe Singapore, or even Israel, or Japan, We need to understand these small things. Now, Japan doesn't have a single MBA school. They would be having 1 or 2. But Japan doesn't have something called MBA, as the US has it. How and why? We at least need to, I'm not saying they're 100% right. I'm saying we need to understand how they can do as well as they are doing without having maybe hundreds and thousands of MBA schools like maybe we have in the US or in Europe for that matter. Okay, so what we need to do is we have to rework everything. A girl has to get married at 24. Says who? You get married, you have to have a child. Says who?
Yeah.
You need to have a good paying job and a great house and a great car. Says who? Where does this come from?
Yeah. I think it's a societal thing which...
That is where the problem comes. You are wearing a trouser, which I tell you to wear based on my likes and dislikes. But that could be too loose or too tight for you. Who decides what trousers and what you wear? You decide.
Yeah.
You decide what colors you like or what suits you. That's about. I can't direct, I can train you, I can tell you, I can explain it to you. But the moment we take away the individuality, now this is something which goes on at a higher level of discussion. We are taking away the individuality of the person, okay, and we are making it one size fits all. Now that can never work. We are killing an individual the moment we kind of, make it a group kind of thing. He's got 90%, you have to get 91. He got 91, got 92. Says who? Where does this come from? You understand? So somewhere we have to, rework everything that we have been learning about even living life. Not just getting married and having children and educating and, bringing up children the right way.
So this brings to one question, who would govern this rework? How would it start if one has to start, say, maybe tomorrow? Then from where would it begin? Who would govern this?
Okay, I think you are doing a good job. That's how it should be. You talk about it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're looking at it, making it that much more practical to spread it out, the government would come in here. Government should dedicate possibly one class every day talking about mental health.
Sure.
Now, you don't talk about this chap being mad or that chap being mad. You talk about mental health, not about mental illnesses. Let's understand that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a different way of
Absolutely.
saying
Now,
things.
suppose you are doing something or you want to do something and I don't want to do the same thing. Am I right or wrong? No. Okay. Now, what we should be doing is trying to tell people or trying to ensure that you have a certain amount of interest in living your life. How many people genuinely have that interest about living their lives?
I think most people are just going behind what it's coming.
They are doing it mechanically.
Yeah.
Now, when you start doing things mechanically, are you going to enjoy it? I give you the best possible meal And you just go on eating it with mechanic. I'm going to enjoy it.
But
You
it
need to
must-
savor it.
But it might give you certain sort of appeasement or instant gratification. That's what we can say. Once he get something out of his desire, but in the longer run, he will definitely suffer.
So we have to, as I said, we have to train people and maintain society in general. Suppose you become, say, an engineer, and you say, I don't want to do the 9 to 5 job. It gets 12. I would prefer to be a scooter mechanic. And you go get a training and you be a scooter mechanic. And you say, look, I need 1 lakh rupees per month to be. I have everything. I would be happy with that. Who am I to decide that you could have earned 1 crore a month and you're earning 1 lakh, so you are something mentally wrong with you? Who am I to decide? Now the government, I mean, this is in passing, but because I've done my law also and somewhere law helps, I think the government should have a law stopping people from interfering in someone else's life. Anybody who commits suicide, I think anybody and everybody who has instigated him in this kind of, in this way, you don't have, like women, for example. Women mental issues start where? You get married within a year or two, you don't have a child. The woman is kind of, what should I say? She's made to go through hell. Why should that happen? Maybe there's a problem with she. Let's say she's barren, but that's not her mistake if she's barren.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why should society decide as to if or not she should have a child? She decides. Now these pressures which come in, and they come in so easily. She goes out for a wedding. 4 years and no child. Now, we don't realize how much that hurts the girl.
In fact, builds a lot of pressure on that.
Absolutely. Now, anybody who asks a girl like this should be hanged if that girl commits suicide. I mean, that is the level of government interference which we should need. You have no business looking at what the other lady is doing. Now, that's where a cultural issue does come in. No? We as Indians have doctorates, multiple doctorates, in interfering in somebody else's life and trying to tell how others should live their life rather than we living our own.
I think people do it for their self-appeasement by turning down some other person for one or other reason.
True, but if that is going to push a person towards mental illness, towards his quality of life going down, and consequently to suicide, anybody and everybody who has pushed him should take some responsibility. Maybe, I mean, when I said hanging, that's an extreme way of keeping it, but I think we need some law here. And the government can put a foot down here, absolutely.
Yeah, but I think governing it, that who did and why it did, I mean, it's a whole.
No, what I'm trying to
another
we are looking
discussion.
at, like for example, say until about 20 years back, when Murli Devra came out with a suggestion, I think it was a private member's bill, smoking in public is unhealthy because I end up smoking plus you smoke.
Yeah.
Now, could you have thought that India can ban smoking in public places? But it is nearly banned. You don't see as many people smoking on the streets as you saw, say, 20 years back.
True.
Very simple. So a certain amount of thing comes in. The moment someone bugs, and suppose that lady says, you say that again, I'll do something good and I'll write your name that you push me on to suicide. What is that person going to do?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just kind of pulling, I'm just making a little light.
Yeah.
Or you go to the IIT, you'll do very good there. For God's sake, let me decide. And I have my parents alive, let me decide. Okay, or you should go for medicine because that's what you are meant to do. Your parents are doctors. And the kid says, I've seen medicine too much. My whole family is of doctors and it's hell. I want to do something else. I just want to drop everything, maybe become a sage. Who decides? Only the child. And we limit it to sensible. I mean, say the parents or very close family or whatever.
Fair.
What I'm trying to say is, society is not going to change overnight. Some kind of government interference, law, etc., as I said, was jocularly said. I mean, I didn't like the wind. But something has to be done. Some kind of intervention needs to be done. And at the very easiest thing, schools and colleges, minimum, 1 hour per day on mental health, not mental illnesses, needs to be done compulsorily. Because this is getting out of hands, and this is getting to be in a geometric proportion kind of thing. Today there are 10 people who are ill. Tomorrow it's not going to be 11, it's going to be 100.
Yeah.
And they're not 101. It's going to be 1,000 and then 10,000 or 100, that kind of a thing.
No, I agree completely. I have one last question here before we wrap up. So let's say if someone is listening to this podcast and feels lost, what would be the first step he would be doing right after watching?
Well, as I said, all these things are very, very individualistic. I would request them to call you up, okay, or maybe go on if you have site, ask questions, okay. Immediately, I would say this: take it easy, stop before you talk to someone. Okay, don't rush to any conclusions. There is always a tomorrow, and if you have any doubts, look at Jack Ma's life when he gave those 24 interviews. Got rejected for all the 24 till he started his business. So if there is someone who is watching this and who thinks he has reached the, say, a dead end of sorts, let me tell you, you have not. You believe you have, which is fine, but you have not. Maybe they can call up Pawan or they can write questions. In the next podcast, I'll try and answer them. Or maybe we can have sessions, for a small group of 50 or 100. Actual sessions where we can club up people of the same kind of issue, the same kind of problem, the same age group, and try and help them, not to take them out of mental health issues, to help them live a good life. That is the key.
Yeah.
We are not looking at mental health as some kind of an absolute truth. Yeah. But living a good life, yes, that is the absolute truth. How to live happily? Yes. Okay, so anybody who's watching this and is very uncomfortable way his or her life is going, what you do is, first thing, I think Pawan should be giving his phone number. Talk to Pawan or write your questions down about it. Post your questions here. We'll try and address it as well as we can. I hope that should solve at least an immediate problem.
Well, thank you so much, Millind sir. It was too informative and full of discussions, solutions, and I hope people will get benefited out of it. I would hope that somebody who is going through that mental health problem or issues, it's not an end. And, people like Millind sir, and there are so many other guests I would bring onto this table where we discuss, and we can definitely sort that out. So till then, thank you so much. Thank you, Millind sir. Thanks a lot.